Coming up on Sunday, the Carolina Hurricanes will retire Eric Staal's jersey, so that is our focus for a few minutes right now. This is the Adam Gold Show. We should introduce ourselves. I am Adam Gold. Victoria is here. She's a big Hurricanes fan. And you know how you get to the Hockey Hall of Fame, Victoria?
Be great.
Well, yes. You get your name on the Stanley Cup 3 times.
Yes.
And you draft players like Eric Staal. That's why Jim Rutherford is in the Hockey Hall of Fame, the president of the Vancouver Canucks, former president and general manager of the Carolina Hurricanes. Sir, thank you so much for coming on. How are you?
I'm well. Good to be on with you, Adam.
When you, I don't know what the process was like when you went through scouting and going ahead and drafting Eric Staal, but if you could walk me through what you saw as a kid playing for the St. Petersburg Petes, right? Or the Peterborough, not to say, I made it a city in Florida.
Peterborough. Yeah.
So what did you see as a player then?
Well, he was a well-rounded player with a high skill level, and when we looked into his background, including his whole family, just great character. And that point in time, we were in the midst of kind of transitioning the team a little bit. Ronnie Francis was getting more towards the end of his career. Roddy Brind'amour was getting more to that step, and we needed a center. And interesting in that draft, it was, we had an off year. We were picking first until the lottery, and then Pittsburgh moved ahead of us. And people thought that we wanted Andre Fleury, which obviously would be a good choice. But we had taken Cam Ward in a prior draft, just prior to Eric's draft. And so we were really looking for a center. So we were happy that we could get a center like Eric, so he could carry on where Francis and Brind'amour were when both those guys retired.
Jim Rutherford is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show, and coming up on Sunday, the Hurricanes will retire Eric Staal's number. There's a red carpet. There is an alumni game the next day. I know Vancouver is going to be here on Friday, and you are kind enough to be able to stick around for the festivities, at least on Sunday. But was there any part of you that wanted to play goal on Monday in the alumni game?
Didn't put a lot of thought into that. Those days are long gone.
All right, so as a player, at that point, we didn't have a lot of 18-year-olds, I don't believe, playing in the NHL. Now it's routine. If you're one of the first handful of picks, and they all go. They all come up to play. What was that process like when you had to decide whether or not we're going to keep him here or send him to Lowell at that point to get some seasoning?
Well, we would have had to send him back to junior his first year out of the draft.
Oh, right, because he was too young.
And he had a really good camp. The camp we were hoping for. He certainly showed that he'd be able to play in the league. And then, of course, in his second year, we had the work stoppage, and the league didn't play. And what I really admired about Eric was he didn't want to sit out a year. So he went to the minors and played for a year during the work stoppage year. And it was so good for him, so good for any players that did that, because the following year when he came back, he had I believe his best point total. Mm-hmm. I believe he had 100 points that year coming out of the work stoppage. And it was also the year we won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, he was pretty great in that year. No Hurricane has ever had a 100-point season. Just him. He's the one that has had a 100-point season. Now, did you consider at any point when you scouted Eric, did you consider drafting Henry and Linda Staal, his parents, judging from Mark and Jordan also having their careers?
Well, once you draft one of the players, you draft the parents. And you started off by talking about the Hall of Fame. Certainly, if there's a Hall of Fame for parents, Henry and Linda would be in it.
What is it about that family? Because I've covered Eric and I've covered Jordan, and you're just not going to have two more honest people that you get a chance to talk to on a regular basis.
Well, they're just down-to-earth people, hard-working people. It's just how they developed as a family, and great leadership. And so it's not any surprise that the boys have turned out the way they did.
Jim Rutherford is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. I'm just curious, when you think about Eric Staal as a Hurricane, are there games or moments that come to mind?
Oh, I'm sure there's many. And now that's a few games ago in my career, and a lot of things have happened. But the one game that really stands out was a game in New Jersey, a playoff game. I believe it was Game 7. We were in New Jersey, and New Jersey played that tight game. You very seldom got any scoring chances, and we were down by a goal, I think, with maybe a minute left or a minute and a half. Tied the game, and then right off the face-off, Eric went down and scored the winning goal on Brodeur, and that was an unbelievable moment for the Hurricanes, but especially for Eric.
Yeah, the shock at the Rock. It's funny. I was talking to Trip Tracy about this, and I will talk with him about this even further. To me, it's probably the signature. He won a Stanley Cup, but that's probably the signature Eric Staal moment, if for no other. The celebration at the end, yes, the goaltender also matters there. Somebody as accomplished as Brodeur. But, I mean, Carolina did get under Brodeur's skin a little bit further on in his career. And it's also the most frequent matchup in the playoffs. Carolina versus New Jersey. That and Boston, the two most played playoff series for Carolina. So that was the moment. Do you remember, again, this was also against the Devils, but I don't was it Brodeur? I don't think it was Brodeur anymore. Maybe it was. No, it was, because it was before. Against the Devils, when Scott Gomez deflected a shot in Game 2 to give New Jersey the lead with about 12 seconds left, and Justin Williams and Eric Staal combined on the goal that actually tied it in Game.
Yeah,
that's a moment that you just can't believe. I can't even find a highlight of that anymore.
Yeah, but when you think about those two players, the way they played, like Williams and Staal together, it was they were special teammates, and so determined with a high skill level. So that was another great moment. And then there was another game in Montreal. When we won the cup that year, the first two games at home we lost to Montreal. And then we went back into Montreal, and Eric played a big part in the overtime or the come from behind. I just can't remember exactly what game, but it was a turning point in giving us a chance to win the cup if we hadn't won that game.
Yeah, Rod Brind'amour scores off the stick of Sheldon Souray with about 10 minutes left in the third period to tie it, and Eric Staal won it in the overtime. Real quick, because I am curious, I have two questions about Eric, and then we'll let you go. One is about his leadership, because I think he really grew into it under some difficult circumstances because the team wasn't performing as well. They were close to getting in the playoffs, and just for, you'd lose the last game of the season or whatever. And he really wore the brunt of that and felt it from the fans. How do you think he grew as a leader?
Well, he had great leadership qualities when he was drafted, okay? And he showed all the signs of a guy that could be a team captain. And fortunate for him, he was around Ron Francis. Then in the early part of his days in Carolina, Rod Brind'amour, who he was mentored by. And then late in Roddy's career, Eric took over the captaincy, and part of the reason for that was that he could start being the captain with Roddy right there to take him through step by step. Because it's, people don't realize how tough it is to be a captain and all the things that you deal with. But he grew into that, which we knew he would. But getting that mentorship from those players was really important.
Was that a difficult decision? I actually talked to Chuck Caton about this not that long ago. Was it a difficult decision because it was mid-season?
Oh yeah, it was heart-wrenching actually. All those decisions are really hard, but a lot of thought goes into them, and there's a lot of reasons why. And fortunately, the players involved understood and made the process a lot easier.
All right, final question for Jim Rutherford, president of the Vancouver Canucks, former president and general manager of the Carolina Hurricanes. When the number goes up and it goes next to 17 and 10 and 2, what will you be thinking about at that point?
Well, I'm just so proud of those guys. I'm so happy the Hurricanes have respectfully done this for Eric, and let the fans come and appreciate what Eric's done, and it just makes me really proud, because I know what those players went through in the early stages trying to build the franchise, and they worked hard and won a cup, went to the finals one time, went to the conference finals. But I'm really happy the Hurricanes are doing this for Eric.
I'm very thankful that you carved out some time during the day. I appreciate your time. I know you're busy. I'll see you on Friday.
Look forward to it. Thanks a lot.
You got it. Thank you. Bye. Jim Rutherford, president of the Vancouver Canucks. They will be in town on Friday. I didn't even ask him if he would trade us JT Miller. I didn't even ask.